For all things outdoors, listen to the father of two, the Jesus-loving TV show hosting hairy, true-blood American redneck, Ben Cole.
And listen to the outdoor filming, chef cooking, chocolate milk drinking, John Weissmuller. And we are
Rooted Podcast. Have you ever wanted some high-end products out in the woods? Look no further than our friends at R.W. Coolidge. They make duck straps, they make bags, they make gun cases. Whether you want canvas or leather, they got you covered. So for this hunting season, check out R.W. Coolidge for all of your needs. Hey there, Ben. How's it going, man?
going good, buddy. How are you?
Dude, fantastic. Just had a great Christmas with the fam and, ate too much and just had a good time. You know what I mean?
Hey, we had the same thing. We ate way too much. Santa was good to the youngins. But
Perfect.
we're here today to talk about wolves and the new reintroduction to, was it some park in Colorado? Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it was a park necessarily, but it was somewhere in Colorado for sure. They introduced some gray wolves back into the wild, and it's got some people fired up, especially out west.
Yeah, I would say it's definitely got its pros and its cons, right? I mean, reintroducing
sure.
predators back in to the wild, not knowing exactly what your elk and whitetail, bison, moose numbers are. There's a lot of concerns with that. I mean, why do you think that they did that? Why do you think that Colorado released those wolves?
Well, if you listen to like what the agency says, they just want the wolf number up. One, just for the sake of having the number up, but their kind of point of view is that it'll bring up the predator number, right? And then that'll kind of help balance the herd of elk, deer, kind of animals in that family. So, in one aspect, I guess I could kind of see it, right? Like I get their train of thought there. For me though, I just think that wolves have such a big impact on herds. Like, it's nothing like a coyote has on a deer herd. I think a wolf does significantly more damage to a herd. And I just really think that a wolf can kind of destroy an elk herd or a mule deer herd out there. And I think that's what's got people fired up, man. So, but to answer your question, I think the reason they did it is because they just want the wolf number up and they think it can help balance the herd. That's Colorado, fish and wildlife point of view.
Well, if you look at what the internet says, and I'm not a big believer in anything that the internet says, but being somebody that doesn't know a whole lot about wolves, and because we just don't have them here. We have your typical coyotes, a few black bears, and that's about all we got. So, from what I have researched on this topic is that typically, according to the internet, one wolf can consume 50 deer every year. One wolf. So let's say that there's 1,000 wolves in a specific area. Well, that's 50,000 deer in a year's time.
Yeah.
That is a complete decimation of a deer herd, more than likely.
Yeah.
Now, are they always just targeting whitetails? Probably not. They're chasing the elk, they're chasing the moose, they're chasing the whitetail. They also hunt beaver and different animals like that. But man, one wolf can consume up to 20 pounds of meat a day. One wolf.
It's a lot.
That's a lot of meat. And now, do they consume 20 pounds every day? No. There's going to be a lot more unsuccessful hunts than there are actual successful hunts, right? Excuse me. But the thing of it is is that anytime you reintroduce a predator back into the wild, you have to expect some casualties, right, from your herds. And I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if this is a really good idea or not. I mean, can you hunt them in that region? I don't know. Probably not. If
No.
there's not a way to keep a check and balance on the predator herd as well as the deer and elk
Mhm.
herd, that's when you get into the issues of having an overpopulation of predators, which then creates a problem for everything else.
Yeah, and then you look at you know outside of the hunting world, right? Out west, there's a lot of ranchers, a lot of farmers. Um, wolves kill livestock fast too, and um, man, if you're a farmer or a rancher, whatever y'all want to call it out there, I mean, cows. That's that's your life. That's your money. That's everything right there. And you get a pack of wolves in there, it don't take them long to ruin that real quick. Like so, if you're a farmer out there, I mean, that's got to be creeping in the back of your mind too, right? Like, man, I've got my life out in these fields, and what am I gonna do? I mean, if you're a farmer, a rancher, and they tell you that you can't shoot this wolf, I, I mean, what do you do, man? It's like, do you just let it ruin your livestock, or do you just take care of business? I mean, I don't know. That's a moral dilemma right there. But I mean, it's just one of the many examples of questions that I don't think people have the answer to out there.
Yeah, it really is one of those gray areas when it comes to livestock, because not only do you have the wolves now, but you also have the cats that will
Mm-hmm.
come down and eat livestock and everything too. So now you have two predators that are coming after your livestock. Okay, so I mean,
Exactly.
I'm in the same place you are. I mean, what do you do? What do you do if these wolves become a problem and start cutting into your financial livelihood, man? I mean, that is how those folks make their living. I mean, how do you
Mm-hmm.
safeguard against that? I don't know. I don't know if they're what the answer is to that, but what I do know is
Yeah.
that if it's killing your critters, you ought to be able to kill it. That's kind of the way I think about it, because that's how they make their living every year.
Yeah. And then so they put out 5 wolves, right? And you know the wolf goes into estrus once a year and to have a litter. They have an average of 4 to 6 pups. I mean, so if you think about it, and again, I'm not sure. We could look it up real real quick. I'm not sure how many of the 5 were female versus male
Uh-huh.
that they put out, but let's just say it's 1 or 2. You know, in a year, you have an extra 5 or 10. You know, 8 to 12, whatever it is, pups. It's like, and then it just keeps growing, and before you know it, you got hundreds and then thousands of these wolves. And it's like, man, and like you say, on average, if one wolf can kill 50 deer a year, and let's just say it's less than that, right? Let's just cut that in half. I mean, if you got 1,000 wolves out there, hitting 20 deer a year, it's like, buddy, it's gonna get ugly fast out there for those folks hunting. I mean, I would say, just from my buddies who have been out west hunting elk, like it's already tough enough. Let alone now where you put some wolves out there and you got wolves and people hunting those elk and muleys and everything else. I mean, I just think that it can get hard fast, man. This hunting world out there, especially in Colorado at the moment.
Well, I think too that everything needs a good check and balance, right? The good Lord put predators on this earth for a reason, and we just so happen to be the apex predator. But there was a
Yeah.
reason for a wolf to be created. There was a reason for a coyote, a mountain lion, all these different creatures to be created, right? And that is to keep a check and balance on populations so that there is not an overpopulation. So there's not an erosion problem like they've noted in Yellowstone before they released the last pack of wolves in there. You know, they were having massive erosion problems because the population of elk, deer, and bison were
Mm.
so wild. They're just destroying the landscape. So it can go both ways. You know, too many of anything or too much of anything is not always a good thing. You know, it's actually never a good thing. You need a solid balance between the two. Now, how far does those wolves travel? That's my question. Is like how. So let's say there's two females in that pack of five, right? They give birth to 10 pups. Well, now you're at 15
Hmm.
dogs. So where are they going? How far are they traveling? Are they going into other states or are they staying local? Because, I know that
Yeah.
a mountain
Well, I
lion,
mean,
a mountain lion will travel up to like 300 miles, I believe is what their territory is. I could be totally wrong, but I know
mm.
it's not a real short, small territory.
I was looking here, just doing some googling. So this article from Business Insider says that uh, Colorado wildlife officials have now released 10 gray wolves, 4 male and 6 female. Uh, so they also say that this is a voter-backed effort. So it seems like somebody, some group in Colorado, has voted to bring those wolves back into the state. But they were brought onto state-owned land, and the goal is to recover and maintain a viable, self-sustaining wolf population in Colorado while balancing the need to manage interactions between wolves, people, and livestock. Uh, so apparently, these 10 wolves they come from Oregon. They do have satellite GPS collars, so they will track how far and where they go, whether they stay local or they go further in the state or out of state. And over a 3 to 5 year time frame, somewhere between 30 and 50 wolves will be introduced into Colorado. So, we're sitting here saying, is it good? Is it bad? What do you think? Um, you know, well, listen, Colorado is not the first state to do this, right? So let's go to somewhere like Idaho that has done this. Um, they are now doing a plan to reduce the amount of wolves. So, and they're kind of saying that if you look at hunting numbers, the like elk hunter success rate, if you take states without wolf population, right, the success is somewhere in that 20 to 30% range, where if it's with wolves, it's 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 lower. It's in that like 15 to 20%. So, you know, I don't truly think that this whole wolf thing is something to be scared of per se, because you can still, you know, kill elk, but I don't know if it's gonna do exactly what Colorado's hoping. And maybe I'm totally wrong, but I, I'm I'm just seeing the potential, right, for negative things to happen, like cattle getting eaten or sheep. People own sheep out there, uh, and then obviously the herds of elk and mule deer and whitetail, and uh, So as a hunter, I obviously we want the most amount of animals to go after, and I think these wolves are going to put a dent in that.
Yeah, I mean, we want healthy herds, but we also don't want them to be overpopulated to where they get scarce on food, number one, and die horrible deaths with, malnutrition and starvation. Um, and we also want to preserve the landscape too, right? Because too many of anything, like I said previously, is not always a good thing. But I think if this turns into an Idaho situation, the deer and elk population are going to dwindle quickly because of how dominant a wolf is. I mean, that and a lion, a cat, are the two apex predators out there.
They'll hurt you.
As far as like the canines go, I mean, you got a coyote around here. They're not very big, right? They travel in packs.
Yeah.
Their communication is pretty crazy. I mean, two dogs here can sound like 50, a pack of 50. And, it's pretty wild how they do that, but they do that for protection, right? So it looks like it's a much bigger group of them. So that way other predators around think, oh, well, that's a bunch of them. That's a big pack of them. But it's really two, just bounce around. You can't really base something off that. But, I'm curious to see what these studies show about the range, the home range of these wolves, the 10 wolves they just released in Colorado. I want to see, I mean, because, man, this could really wreck. Let's think about this long term. This could really hurt the hunting for people in the state of Colorado. This could, especially for non-residents, this could really hurt your chances of being able to go to Colorado and hunt for big game. I've never been to Colorado. Always wanted to go elk hunting, but if these wolves are in, let's say, 5 years, reduce the population to a point that is not good, then guess who gets booted first? It's the non-residents. And then guess who doesn't benefit from the sale of a tag? Colorado. So there's a lot of different ways that we can look at this and skin this cat. So do I think predators are necessary? Absolutely. I do think that there should be a solid checks and balances in everything, whether that's nature, whether that's government, or whatever.
Yeah.
I think everything needs a check and a balance. And, if there's no wolves at all in the state of Colorado, and the herds are getting out of control, well, maybe there is a reason. Maybe there is, a way to do it successfully. I just don't know what that way is. And I don't know if, 10 years from now, if we're like, man, we really messed up here by doing this. We really, really messed up. I mean, that's just a thing I would look at.
Like another thing I'm kind of seeing here is, and that I've seen in the past, and I've heard people talk about, like, wolves are known for picking out the like the most sickly animal, the most kind of older one or wounded one, right? Which is, I feel, kind of true for all predators. They're going to try and find the one that's most vulnerable. So I kind of get that to a certain point. Like, yes, I think they're going to start there with the weakest one in the herd, but I don't think they just stop there at the weakest one. I think they attack the weakest, let's just say elk in this case. They get that, and then they're like, okay, cool, let's get the next one. And that one, and I think it's just kind of domino effect from there. But, hey, maybe the wolves will just take all the sick and wounded elk and mule deer out of the pack and leave only the healthy ones. I don't know. Maybe it'll be the greatest thing that's
my question is how
for Colorado,
does a wolf take down a full-grown bison? How does a wolf take down a giant buffalo? Those things are huge, man.
Dude, they're tough, man.
Huge.
They're tough
so
critters,
it has to be a sick one or one that is really old and cannot really fend for itself anymore. Or a baby.
Well, yeah. Or, or 3 or 4 wolves on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man, but still, I mean, a buffalo is huge. Which I guess wolves are huge too. They're pretty big critters. But when you think of the
Yeah.
size and the strength of one buffalo, when they tear off running in their herd, how? I mean, I guess they just hunt smart. They're smart pack hunters, is what they are. They single one
Oh yeah.
out,
Hey. Oh yeah.
and then they all attack. So,
Mm-hmm.
they're smart critters, man. They really are. But I think they're going to go for more for the babies and the elderly, the older, sick, rundown, or like you
Yeah.
said, the injured. I think that's what they're going to do. But you have to always wonder, well, at what point do they start targeting the whole herd? At what point does it
Yeah.
not matter anymore? You know, which one they're targeting, or what happens when they kill all the young, and then was you just going to go a year with no offspring? Then what do you do?
Hmm. Yeah. Exactly. I mean, it can get dicey fast out there. I just,
Yeah,
oh
it
boy,
really
I
can.
don't know,
I
man.
just I don't know enough about wolves, like I said, because we don't have them here. We do have the occasional mountain lion here. I mean, they have such a big home range, but they have been spotted here. Um, but now, I mean, do they live right here on my farm all the time? No, no. If they do, they're passing through. They're just making their rounds. That's about it. Now you've got some
Well,
bears, don't you?
mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. I've got a couple of those. Nothing really crazy to worry about anything.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, nothing bad. Oh,
I hear
but
that.
I will say, the hogs though. I'm kind of getting the idea that these wolves are equivalent to a herd that as hogs are to a field. Like I
Mhm.
mean, we we both know that a hog can just straight up ruin a field in a night. Come in there, root it up, see you later, bye, and it's all your work is ruined. I feel like a wolf can do the same thing, man, to a deer herd.
Hey, that's a really good point because, and I tell you what, a hog will ruin just about anything. We
Mm-hmm.
need to go kill those hogs. By the way, we need to get those off your
Yeah.
property. We got to get
Oh,
those
dude.
gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Bad, real bad.
that'll
Like,
wreck all that
well,
chufo. Will be gone, and then the turkey's gonna be starving.
listen,
We have that.
if you want to see an old fat red-headed redneck mad, you watch a hog tear up his chufa. Oh boy, I'll be plumb sideways. I'll go out there I'll get every redneck I know with an AR. We'll go kill them all.
Oh man, that's good stuff. That is good stuff. But
Well,
I
listen,
think. Go ahead.
sorry, brother.
No,
Uh,
you good.
I just keep reading stuff. So, earlier I said it was voted.
Mhm.
It kind of so this is saying in the 2020 ballot. So I guess when it, so like whenever you go into vote, there's if it's an election year, you got the president, and then this, and that, and then you get to vote on local stuff, whatever. So obviously, this was one of them, and it seems to be that more of your city suburban areas voted yes, and more of your rural, country farmer rancher areas voted no. So the vibe I'm getting, and again, this is one article that I'm reading. Okay, I don't live in Colorado. I don't know what everyone's thinking. I haven't talked to people, but just from what I'm seeing, it kind of seems like it's some people are like bring the wolves back because animals, and other people are like, hey man, I like animals too. That's why I don't want wolves because I like seeing my elk and my mule deer and my cow out there being awesome and not eaten alive by a pack of wolves. So I'm wondering, you know, if a wolf gets into like a suburban area, which is not uncommon, right? Like you got mountain lions in California that killed little dogs and stuff right out of right out of a place you would never think a mountain lion would be. You know, how many dogs need to be killed from people, from wolves, on people's front porch till people realize that it's not just a cute little dog looking critter. It's a freaking predator. That thing's a mean machine that will eat your face off. I
Yeah,
wonder how many
yeah.
dogs need to be killed before people realize.
Well, here's another thing.
I
I
don't
just
know.
read this interesting um, tidbit of information from Yellowstone, the Yellowstone Park. So in
Mm-hmm.
1995, they did a count of
Okay.
16,791. And by 95 to 2004, the elk population decreased from 16,791 to 8,335. So
Mm.
you're looking at right at what, 11 years? 11 years, the
Wow.
population was cut in half. Just about it.
Ain't that something? And that's in a
11
park.
years. Yeah, and that's in the park, and the wolves went from 21 to 106 in that time span. So it cut the population of elk in half.
Wow.
Yep, sure did.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought that was pretty crazy that in that short amount of time, you know, just totally wiped out half of
Wiped
the
it.
elk herd. I mean, and now is that all for the wolves? I don't know, because there's grizzly bears, there's a bunch of other things in there too, that go against this stuff. But I will say, when your wolf pack or
Mm-hmm.
herd or whatever they go by, when it goes from 21 to 106, you have a lot of wolves, and you're there. The population is just going to suffer from it because you got wolves, you got bears, you got mountain lions, you got all of it in there. 3 apex predators. You got black bears too. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I just don't. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't
I'm kind
know
of
if.
out.
I don't know if that was the best idea or not. To be real honest with you, I really don't know.
I'm kind of getting the idea that people out there who voted on this, and people who are on this Fish and Wildlife, because listen, we talked earlier on a podcast of Fish and Wildlife folks, right? Like the actual game wardens themselves, the people who are boots on the ground, who we have met here, are most of the time, 9 out of 10 times, are really nice, really cool, awesome people. Okay, so I'm not talking about these people with what I'm fixing to say, but a lot of the people who vote, who are in power, who are on some sort of board or committee or whatever, right? Like I think Tennessee has 11 or 13 or something. They're on some board, the TWRA chair or whatever it is, right? Uh, and I'll just speak for myself here. A lot of those people are not that well intended. They don't really have a great heart. They don't really number one, they really don't hunt, which is bananas to me that someone on this committee voting on wildlife can vote on it who doesn't spend their time in the wildlife, but whatever. So I'm kind of getting the same idea here in Colorado. It seems like they're just kumbaya that there's diversity in the woods because now of wolves there, and no one's really looking at numbers and evidence and like, hey, let's look at Idaho. What did they do? Hey, let's look at this other state's number. You know, I'm kind of getting the idea that they just wanted an extra animal in the woods and didn't really look at every angle.
No, you got a good point there, and I think if you're going to introduce a predator, you got to be willing to take the predator out. Or at least
Hey,
control the population in a manner that is sustainable for all. However, I have heard that wolves are extremely hard to kill. Now, I don't know. I've never
Oh,
hunted
I'm
a wolf,
sure.
so I don't know how hard they are to kill, how hard they are to control. But I do know that there is probably somebody out there that can handle that population pretty good, or a group of people that can handle that population. So I think that's really what you got to focus on is, hey, let's make an effort, a valiant effort to monitor this herd or
Mm-hmm.
pack of wolves, see what they're doing, see how much they consume, see how quickly they reproduce, see how far they travel, and is there a need to reduce the herd of wolves based on elk numbers, mule deer numbers, all the game animal numbers? Is there a huge decline in the next 5
No,
years?
I
Okay, if
agree.
so, let's start whacking wolves. Let's axe them. Y'all get them out of there. At least cut their number in half. So many wolf tags per season. So that way there is that check and balance because ultimately at the end of the day, we are the apex predator. We win. Not every time. There are some times them old critters will get one over on you, but majority of the time we are the winners
Y'all watch out.
of that. But I think if you, like I said, checks and balances, man, gotta have it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man, I totally agree. And again, I I don't know if this is going to be great or terrible for Colorado. But just going on instincts and just first impressions, I'm kind of getting the idea that it's probably not the best idea. But hey, time will tell. I do like that they put the collars, the GPS things on the wolf, so they can get all the data they need, all the information, and hopefully with all that data, they can make great decisions moving forward. And all in all, I think we all have the same idea, right? We want to have a great wildlife herd, a great ecosystem, and I think that's what's important. Is just we all want the same thing, right? We want healthy, beautiful animals for the future. So hopefully, with whatever info comes with these wolves, we can make decisions to let that happen.
Yep, I can't agree more. You said that very well. I think that, that's what we got to have. We have to be willing to reduce the number of predators when that time comes. Instead of sitting around thinking,
Mm-hmm.
oh, well, it's okay, they'll handle themselves. No, they really don't. They're just going to handle everything else. So, like you said, let's do that and be ready to take them out if we have to. Well, folks, that's all
If we
for this
need to.
episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. Look, we have a brand new store that has opened with all the merch
Check.
for Rooted Television and Rooted Podcast. Go to our website and click the shop button. You can find all your stuff there. And don't forget to check us out on Instagram, YouTube, and all the other social media platforms. Thank you guys for listening.
Go buy your merch. See ya.
Redneck out. For all things Rooted Podcast and Rooted Television, and I mean hats, shirts, hoodies, and other merch, check out our friends at CH Lone Star Pro and the link that is in our description.